So the body, or this, what you call as yourself, evolves itself in many different stages. Looking at this evolution, in yoga we see this as 7 different stages, or we say 7 different bodies man has. 7 different bodies need not necessarily mean actually 7 different bodies. These are 7 different stages in which one grows. From 0 to 7, up to 7 years of age, only the physical body grows. It's very important that a person's physical body grows properly in these 7 years. If the necessary growth does not happen in these first 7 years, this person will never be physically healthy. It doesn't matter, he may manage to live, but he will never know true health. He will never be, carefree, healthfulness will never come to him if he doesn't achieve physical growth in 7 years' time. This is Sthula Sharir, or the gross body. 7 to 14, another body which is called as Bhav Sharir, the emotional development of a person happens. By the time they reach 14, they attain to sexual maturity, and emotionally they are in a certain state. Between 7 and 14 you can see a child growing emotionally. Till 7 he doesn't have much emotions, but from 7 to 14 slowly he becomes an emotional being. The Bhav Sharir evolves from here. So when he comes here, his emotion becomes important. Sexuality is also one of the basic emotions. That's why it becomes very important when he attains to this age, because the Bhav Sharir is developing at that point. From 14 to 21, next 7 years, the Manasik Sharir, or the mental body, evolves. That is when the intellect develops. Once Bhava is properly established, then intellect evolves. Education and other things come at, the peak of our education comes between 14 to 21, because that is the only time really man can grasp things intellectually. The amount of learning that he can do at that time, later on or before that, it is not really possible except in a few extraordinary beings. Generally, for most average human beings, the maximum learning happens between 14 to 21 years of age. So Manasik Sharir, or the mental body, develops. Today's modern world is created in such a way that only these 3 things happen. Suppose only physical body evolved, the Bhav Sharir did not develop properly. That person, only food and sleep will be the main things for him, only physical body he knows. If he evolves only till Bhav Sharir and his mental body does not develop, if his intellect does not evolve, then you will see sexuality will be the most powerful thing in that person. All kinds of perversions will arise out of this. When intellect develops, his interest to learn, all these things will come. But generally today, modern society is limited only to these 3 states of the body: the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. After that, we are not seeking any development. The next 7 years are for Divya Manas. As you have a logical mind, there is another mind, which is completely different. In yoga, we avoid this 4th level of development, because once a person goes into this, he becomes miraculous. Many miracles start happening around him. What is there can be here, what is here can be there, you know what is happening there, these kind of things. In yoga, we seal this route. We don't allow people to go into Divya Manas, because it is still mind. It may be, Divya means it's a grand mind, mind on a much grander scale than that we know as mind is. Once you enter this mind, you know everything, not everything, but when compared to other people, you look like a miracle. Once this happens, people generally lose the next stage of development. Most people will not have the maturity to just push it aside and go ahead. They will always get entangled with this. This is still a psychic state. Now you can do telepathy, you can do telekinesis, all these things. These are Divya Manas. From 21 to 28, this mind can be easily developed. This is a natural process. At that stage, it is very easy to develop that kind of ability. But people who are on the spiritual path should never seek that, because all that will end up with is a higher level of the mind. As it is, mind is deceptive. A higher mind is even more deceptive. It gets you entangled in a much deeper way than the lower mind. So we just keep that aside. This has happened in the past in so many ways, especially people walking the tantric paths. They always get entangled with Divya Manas because they need it. To do their work, the nature of the work is such they need this Divya Manas. Once they use it, they get enamored by it. It is more attractive than anything that you know in your life because, you can do things. Little bit, if you can start communicating with somebody just like that, you wouldn't like to stop that, isn't it? If you can move things without putting your hands to it, you wouldn't like to stop that. Because the tantric practices involve Divya Manas, without it they cannot do anything. So there is always this danger that they usually have a setup where the guru or the master who is there keeps complete control over their mind. Only in certain situations they can use their mind, that's how they are kept. If we go into Tantra, that is how it is essential because once the temptation of Divya Manas comes, it is more attractive than anything that you know. People would want to use it, people would want to be with it, because it looks like absolute. Nobody will seek the absolute once they come to contact with Divya Manas because it is so huge, so vast, so miraculous. It feels like God. You don't need anything more. That's a kind of feeling that it creates. But it also brings immense suffering. As normally a person who goes into Divya Manas, after 47, 48 years of life, tremendous amount of suffering is brought about. The next stage of development is called Atma Sharir. This is the soul or the soul body. Normally most people think this is the ultimate nature, this is not. This is an absolute nature. Now we have shifted from nature as we know it. This Stula Sharir, Bhava Sharir, Manasika Sharir, Divya Manas, all these things are physical nature, higher and higher levels, subtler and subtler ways. Now once you move into Atma Sharir, you have moved away from physical nature and you have moved into another nature, if you want to call it nature. Or let us say we have moved into non-nature, which is no more nature. Laws of nature do not hold this anymore. Normally most people understand becoming one with Atma Sharir is everything. It is not. It is a very joyful state. It is a state from which one cannot fall down again. You cross the natural limits, one cannot fall down again. But still it is not everything. This is like being in heaven. You are in great pleasure all the time. You are very joyous. The next stage of development is called as the cosmic body. This is, in traditional terms, we can say this is Paramatma. But generally, most people once they attain to Atma, they even deny the Paramatma because it is so complete. The danger of being totally stuck to Atma Sharir is very, very much there, and we have, what to say. I don't want to put it in terms of numbers, but we have lots of people, so many people who are like this. They have become disembodied beings. They are in Atma Sharir, they are blissful. The urge to seek the next has not come. But till a person completely dissolves, there is no freedom. It feels like mukti. It is mukti in a certain way because you have broken the natural cycle. Now you can neither come back, nor can you go somewhere. You are blissful, floating around in heavens. These are the people who have been generally described as angels, this, that, all kinds of descriptions and additions, wings and other things have been given to them. But fundamentally they have crossed physical nature. And they're in another blissful state which almost looks absolute. You have moved into absolute nature, but still it is not everything. Knowing beyond the nature in a limited way is Atma. Knowing beyond the nature in an unlimited way is Paramatma. Once a person attains to Atma Sharir, generally he tends to deny the Paramatma. That's why so many teachings have come to us, Atman is everything. People have said because they tasted the Absolute and they thought that is it. The next is called as Shunya Sharir, or Gautama called it as Nirvana Sharir. That means complete dissolution. On the path of yoga, we are trying to bypass a few things and go always to complete emptiness, total dissolution, because till then the job is not done. Once we approach spirituality as a science, then we are not looking for entertainment on the path. A scientist is never looking for entertainment. He discovers something, he wants to make a rocket that goes to wherever, another planet. But in the beginning, he may start it with a little fireworks, the little rocket what you use for the Diwali. When he lights it, he is only looking at it as a possibility, not as entertainment. So similarly, on the yogic path, whatever little things happen, we are only looking at it as a stepping stone for something bigger that can happen. We are never looking at it as a big entertainment and getting enamored with that. It is very, very important. Little people feel like this in meditation, they are thrilled. And you find within 2 months they're again down. This is happening repeatedly because you get entertained. Don't get entertained with what is happening. Whatever is happening, our thing is only to reach the goal. Our thing is not to get caught up with the fair on the way. If you go into the fair on the way, you never go to the end. You are moving at the maximum pace that you can move and you are moving in the right direction. That's all that matters to me. Once a person has chosen the spiritual path, the way he sits, the way he stands, the way he eats, the way he speaks, the way he thinks and the way he lives, everything has to be spiritual. So every aspect of our life has to become yoga, every aspect of life has to become a process of growth.